Majestic, what are you doing? Boy, tired. Um, yo, what's going on, Big Steppers? Out here with Majestic. Took Tim to the dog park today. Kind of busy, but I'm about to take a little walk around this thing. Figured I'd go ahead and try to make this as much as a vlog as possible today. Let's see. He's having the time of his life. He'd be cooped up in the house. Um, so yeah, he'd be cooped up in the house. I'll be needing to get him his energy exertion. When he have his energy exertion, he feels a lot better about his life. So anyway, as we sit out here today, it's super sunny outside. I didn't bring a hat, but it's all good. We're about to just enjoy this view, enjoy this walk. But I actually want to talk about we're going to cover this week and kind of just why we're going to cover it without going into too much depth about what we're covering. All right, so what we're going to cover is we're going to be covering I'm going to be talking about like the different levels of content or the different kind of content you can and really, you know what I'm saying, should create depending on the level of, you know, athlete you are, between like the level of notoriety you have. And I'm going to be giving personal examples. And the reason why is because I don't want to be one of those people that be like talking about, like, if you look at my channel, like I did a little bit of stuff about, you know what I'm saying, talking about stuff, covering stuff, mainly on some political stuff, but like not too much on some pop culture stuff, just because I don't want to be one of the people talking about people, but you know what I'm saying, I try to have self-awareness is what I'm saying, basically. So I want you guys to kind of, that's been the number one thing from the beginning, as far as being able to be, as far as sharing my story. That's been the number one thing from the beginning, sharing my story, is the self-awareness factor and being able to learn from that. However, there is methods to the madness as far as even the content that you guys see and the content that I have created. And over the years, I know, you know, what kind of content works and what doesn't. And the reason why it works is more important than what works and what doesn't. You feel me? So that being said, that's what I'll be talking about this week. Like I said, I kind of wanted to talk about it without going too much into it. This vlog is just like, you know, me talking, trying to get more personal. And what we're going to cover on that personal tip is the idea of when you're an athlete, right? Like these NIL rules has changed everything. I feel like if the NIL rules were around when I was around, like as far as the athlete, I would have been more motivated to play sports from the standpoint of maybe learning the business of sports. Like that would probably motivated me. And that's the biggest thing I want to talk about as far as like why you're doing what you're doing, especially like from an athlete perspective, because all right, I gotta put some things up. Y'all give me a second, dog. This dog, stay still. That's basically what I'm talking about. You know, this week you guys will see where I'm coming from with that. I'll give you guys more details about it. But the main thing, I want to just be able to talk to y'all this week from a personal point of view, because I know it can look like this nigga telling me what to do, but bro, you ain't got no millions of subscribers. You ain't got this, that, and the third. But it also, it's, you know, just being able to have that self-awareness and know what will work. And also, like I said, me coming up, it was just different. Things will be, I feel like it was, I don't know, right? We can't speak like what would happen or what would have happened if these things were different. But I just feel like in my heart, if there was like as big as opportunity, I mean, the opportunity was still there, but when I was young in football, wasn't focused on no, on YouTube. Wasn't focused on YouTube. That just wasn't something that I even thought about. That being said, I know there's a lot of kids out there that's playing sports, and a lot of just, as we know, you know, grown men through kids that's playing sports that don't recognize the opportunity that they truly have. Because the difference between, and like I said, we'll talk about it, but the difference between like, you know, as an entrepreneur and as an athlete, right? I know that I say athletes entrepreneur, but like these days athletes are entrepreneurs in the present moment, right? Like you already entrepreneur, as we already know. But that being said, me saying athletes entrepreneur, it's also understanding that you're able to get paid from what you're able, you know, what you're doing right now in this present moment. it's different, like I said, these days when you're able to put yourself in a position where you're able to get, you know, monetize your story and that journey, because the main thing that all athletes have is their story and their journey, especially if you're good, right? Like if you're good, people want to know what the good player does. And that's from every, I would say from high school on up, right? Maybe not so much Little League, but you never, but the way the world is going, kids are going to be, it's going to be tapped in with Little League too. But that being said, I think now, like, as you know, I was young and like that, the opportunity was available, right? But I didn't find really my appreciation for content creation. And so 2020, right? So I was like 22 years old. So, you know, 4 years later, 4.5, 5 years later, almost, now it's like I realized how much time and how much of my story that I could have captured. And now social media is way more bigger than it is, but it's like, it's not natural for people to be content creation. But that's why I want to show you guys just what kind of content creation you can, you know what I'm saying, actually create, no matter, you know, where you at. And we're gonna break it down by like level of Instagram followers, because for like that it doesn't correlate, but it correlates, right? Like it doesn't hand on hand correlate, but it does show levels of interest that people have. But at the same time, that shouldn't deter you, and it can't, because we'll talk about it, right? Like the thing is, depending on how much interest people have in you versus like in what you do, or in like what transitions you had, like all these things are different, right? Like I'm trying to keep my mind, because I know there's people behind me with a dog and he acting crazy, but there's different levels of, but there's different levels in what that is, right? So there's different levels between a transition of, you know, what you are and what you know, do. So with that in mind, the biggest thing is, we're gonna break it down by like the levels of, like I said, Instagram followers, because that's like something that it correlates between the kind of content that you can and kind of should create, right? Because it shows like, now there's people that's big on YouTube, don't get it twisted. That's people that's big on YouTube that's not so big on other platforms, and vice versa. There's people that's big on other platforms, but not so big on YouTube. So there's a correlation there, but also we're gonna just break it down from what my observation on what it means and how you can intertwine that in your own athlete journey from whatever age you at. Because I can, you know, we'll talk about how I could have did it, how I done it, and then how it's done on other people from bigger than what I did, right? So yeah, that's it, man. The main thing, guys, main thing I can say for this week, the main thing about this week, man,